put that in his mouth, John. And when we reach adulthood, this translates into habits that are repeated throughout the day. You go out, you shut your front door, you get in your car, you get back out of your car, you check you locked your front door. Did I switch off the oven? Did I switch off the iron? Did I switch off the aircon? We're manifestly accomplished when it comes to checking the physical things that we have around us, but we are very poor when we're evaluating risk and the value of things of a virtual nature. Thinking about your email holding right now, how much do you think it's worth? Now consider how much it's worth to your competitor. What would you do if you lost it? So when we fail to protect ourselves with adequate risk strategies, typically that's when governments step in. When we fail to play by society's rules, when those rules are open to wide interpretation, then typically governments step in and help us by publishing rules. So the rules of the game that affect us today are the Privacy Act 1988, the Notifiable Data Breach Act, which came into force last year. If you're an APRA-regulated business, you'll be aware that CPS 234 comes into play in July. Some of you in the healthcare industry will have to have HIPAA regulations, PCI, or even EU GDPR legislation. Can we really be governed here in SA by an act dated 1988? Well, when we fail to adhere to the rules, we are hit with sanctions. And these sanctions, ladies and gentlemen, are pretty hefty. Failure to comply with the Notifiable Data Breach regulation can land you with a fine of $360,000 if you're an individual, or $1.8 million if you're a company. So it's clearly something to be avoided. So what is a data breach? Well, you're probably sitting there thinking it's when someone steals your data, unlawfully disclose it, or you lose it, like dropping the data stick. It's a data thing. Basically, your computer system takes copies of your information and things like that. And you'd be half right. But loss of data is not just physical attributes. Ransomware, encrypting viruses, all counts as loss. How many of us sent an email to the wrong person by accident? What if that information contained personal information, payroll information, TFN numbers, health, sickness information? Well, technically that's a breach. And if your company turns over more than $3 million, then it's a notifiable event. So what does the law mean when it calls that notifiable event? Well, it means that you have to contact the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner and give them accurate details about your breach. What happened, how it's occurred, how many people are affected. And then you have to make contact with each of those individuals affected and tell them about it, if there's any potential risk to their reputation or financial loss. And as you can see, by having to do that, that's quite a heavy reputational damage to your business and your credibility. But the fines don't paint a whole picture. And for some more audience anticipation. Okay. So, if you can put your nice voice down for a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to close your eyes and get comfortable in your chair. So picture yourself walking into your work later today. The place is eerily quiet. Nobody is at their desk. The radio is turned right down, and there's a smell of Janice's from accounts burnt toast lingering in the air. A growing sense of expectation as you walk into the staff room where everyone is gathered. In front of you is the CEO. Her face is ashen grey, and her disposition is somber. She's explaining to everybody that overnight they've been hit by a massive encryption virus. All systems are offline. The IT guys are on their way, but it'll take them more than an hour for them to get here. They have already indicated that to restore systems is going to take 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week, maybe more, maybe never. You turn to your colleague who has spent months working on a business proposal. The end is in sight, but now nothing. No email, no proposal, no hope. You touch her hand as though tears well up in her eyes. Finally, she cries in desperation, exasperated. Send us 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoins, or 5 Bitcoins, the screen reads. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a made-up story. This is not an act of fiction. This is actually something that I, personally, and many other of my colleagues have encountered too many times. I've been asked to come in and help someone get their IT systems back up and running. Occasionally, it's that point where you realise that their backup hasn't been working, sometimes for months. So what do we do to make sure we're not victims of this kind of act? What does it take to make sure that when you walk through that office door every morning, there's a happy, cheery, and ever so slightly annoying bunch of reprobates smiling back at you? The radio in the corner playing the same bloody 5 songs on repeat, your very own personal Groundhog Day. Well, it takes this, it takes you, it takes me, it takes everyone in this room. It takes events like this, it takes training and awareness, and sometimes it takes legislation. But it starts with risks. It starts by working the numbers, taking a step back, looking at where you store your data, why you store it, how long you should store it for, and equally important, what it is worth to you if it were to be lost. In the corner of my grandfather's study stood a writing bureau, and next to it a filing cabinet and a safe. When he wanted to send someone a message, he would open his desk, take out some expensive paper, write his message, seal it in an envelope and stamp it, post it. As children, we understood that that the safe was where our grandparents stored their most precious documents. The filing cabinet held the rest, and the bureau content was used to communicate with everybody. Today we have email systems. There are few filing cabinets, there are even fewer safes. Everything is stored in our email, irrespective of the value. From messages about cakes in the canteen, the copier is broken, Janice has a new dog, through all the way to sensitive corporate secrets. All stuffed in the same system and all secured with the same lock, your password. So now that we have a bit more of an appreciation of risk evaluation and touched upon the consequences, we're going to learn a little bit more about the type of behaviour that causes these risks. And the first and largest risk to data is you. Or more accurate, your behaviour actually makes up a staggering 81% of all data breaches reported. 81%. It's a wonder you're given a computer to use. The reason we're at 81 is because we are easily manipulated animals. We have personality traits inconsistent with computer logic. We're driven by a notion, occasionally irrational, we're oftentimes poor, or are led into situations that are uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And that's when we do things in the cold light of day that we wouldn't normally do. Have you ever watched a quiz show and the person has an obvious answer, but they get it wrong? The countdown clock, some feverish music getting louder and louder and quicker. All situations designed to quicken the pace, put time pressure on you, and inevitably cause you to make a disastrous decision. The largest area of attack inevitably comes from our email service. We typically have all email addresses, and it's a nice and expensive way to reach a very large audience with your scam. So the first scam we're going to look at is a good old email trick. If I send you an email and I make it look like it comes from someone high up in your organisation, indeed this is called a CEO's fraud, it entails me sending you an email with some form of payment request attached to it, and it will be from someone you know. Hi, I'm in a meeting right now, and you need to process immediate payment for me, otherwise we'll miss out on this great opportunity. Stop what you're doing right now and make this payment of $8,000 to the Nigerian Prince Company. Email me back by return when you've done so. And if you don't do it, often you'll get a follow-up email a few minutes later, reconfirming the request and asking you why you've not done it yet. These are all things that are designed to put pressure on you to act in a given time frame and not give you the opportunity to stop and think. But you're sitting there now thinking, well, that's stupid, clearly it's a scam. What if I told you that the scam works for just under 4% of people? 4% gives you a nice payday, doesn't it? The same when it comes to changing bank details. How many of you have received an email stating that your supplier has changed bank accounts and that you need to pay XYZ Bank from now on? Probably most of us, right? But how many of us actually act on it? Do you take the time to double check with the sender? Are you time poor and never get around it? Maybe you just assume that the email is genuine. After all, people do change banks, don't they? But don't think it won't happen to you. Make time to call the sender, verify. Just before Christmas here in SA, there were 2 large building companies that went out of business because the people they were doing work for paid money into the wrong bank account after receiving an email from them. Their insurance did not cover them because they weren't bogus emails. They had actually come from the company's email system. It's just it wasn't an employee that was sending them. So the next scam is pretty similar, and it involves receiving a link to a document. This could be a PayPal invoice, an Apple Pay, an Amazon subscription, or even a message telling you that the email contents are secure, that you need to put your username and password in again. Bang. Damn, you've given away your details, and a scammer can compromise you. Maybe this week, maybe next week. Historically, we would normally see this activity very quickly after an event, but more often than not these days, people lurk. They watch your emails in and out, they look for details they can use in a scam. Contact your contacts, holiday booking, where they see payments being made, a big supplier payment that they see you discussing, anything that can give them leverage. They also use it to move laterally, so they gain credence in their communication with other people in your company, and your antivirus and spam filter won't help you because they are already inside your network. Other email scams typically try and shame you into payments. They claim that you've been watching some adult material. I know I get this one a lot. And then they have proof. A recording, something similar has been gathered of you, and if you don't pay for a set period, they will send it out to all your contacts. Again, it's time pressure, but also an evaluation of reputational risk and your credibility in play. So do you take the risk? Hopefully you do, because it's a scam. So I often get asked about how people are targeted in this kind of scam or email, and the answers are often varied. Email harvesting from social media is a very good place to start. Your LinkedIn and others, we give out our email addresses very willy-nilly. But the majority of emails that come from past scams or breaches, places where you put your email details into, create an account with a password, and then those details are stolen. Think of Ashley Madison, think of Equifax, Marriott hotels, people like that. People that have had high-profile hacks in the last few months. So this happens multiple times every day, but we only typically get to hear about the large ones. And the trick is to understand that they're not normally targeting you specifically for your company. They will purchase lists of people on the dark web and then use their compromised emails to mass email everybody. And remember, of the 4% of people that receive their email, typically somebody will complete the details and enable a cyber breach of their system or a payment fraud. It costs them nothing to send out one email, and it costs them the same to send out 1 million emails. Protecting yourself from these acts is often seen as complex or expensive, and goodness knows that my industry would love to keep it that way. But the truth is, often small changes in habits can have significant improvement in risk mitigation, improvements to procedures and understanding. Training and technology all play a part as a whole. And when you have done all these things and you still have a risk beyond your appetite, or simply you insure against it. Unfortunately, my friend Stella's not here today, otherwise I'd have pointed you towards her and said you need to seek out some cyber insurance. So I've done my bit now talking, and we're near the end of the presentation. Now for those of you who've seen me before, and I think Keith, you came to see me on Thursday, thank you. You like to, I end with a couple of visual aids. So I'm going to start with the thongs. And I still can't get used to calling them thongs. We're all tangible, we all like to, we all remember things when they're held in front of us. The thongs represent the footprint, the digital footprint. You need to keep it small. Things that you post, things that your friends post, things that you're attracted to, the things that you like. They all can be used as leverage when building up a picture of how you are and what you work and your digital footprint. The next thing is a crab. Yes, I did make this. The crab denotes lateral movement. Once you see it, when someone breaks into your system, if you're one of the 90% of people that reuse passwords, and I can see most of you nodding your heads, then once somebody's in, they can quickly compromise other systems that are connected because they reuse the same passwords. And that's a really bad thing, guys. You need to change that habit. That's terrible. And the final thing is the hat that Lizzie has. You want my hat up, Lizzie? Yes, that is actually my hat, and yes, I have worn it to a number of weddings. But the hat denotes elevated privilege. And like a gentrified person, once you get elevated privilege, you can do what the hell you like. So keep your passwords, guys, keep your systems patched, keep your updates, keep your antivirus on the latest versions. And these are all the very, very least things you can do. Thank you.